Hey, I'm Kai, and it seems like no matter how many times I demo the Crab Brown Eye, there's always something else people want to see from it. So today I'm going to see whether or not this $550 tube amp can take a boost pedal. I've got a variety of different drive pedals set up on my pedal board right now, and I'm also going to run through the amp in a few different contexts to go from sort of the low gain thing all the way up to super brutal high gain. Now, while this video isn't sponsored, I do have Tom and affiliate links in the description box down below that work site-wide and give me a little bit of kickback no matter what you purchase. I'm going to give a super quick overview of the amp just in case you are uninitiated. The Crab Brown Eye is a 50-watt tube amp based on a Friedman amp of the same name. Crab amps are all handmade in Ukraine and they typically start at about $550. There are some paid upgrades you can add on, but mine was just base spec. These are fully customizable. You can choose what Tolex you want, what faceplate color, what knobs, whether you want a head shell or a lunchbox style head, all sorts of stuff. This one I've got here is a 3-channel modded British style of amplifier. It can go right the way from sparkling clean up to classic crunch, all the way up to modern crushing high gain. That's all thanks to the smorgasbord of switches available on the front panel. You can adjust things like the clipping section, you can adjust the voicing, you can adjust the fatness, tons of different things you can get into. I'm going to use my PRS S2 in drop C for this demo because I find it to be a pretty good all-rounder. For the pedals, I've got the Earthquaker Devices Plumes, the Guptec Mad Hue, the Holy Island Audio Spectral Fire, and even the Way Huge Swollen Pickle. The only other thing to mention is that I'm running the amp out into the surreactive load, then out to my door where I'm loading up the ML Sound Lab Mega 1992 cabinet. We're going to start out on the OD channel of the amplifier. The saturation and the structure switches on the amp are all disabled, so it's a pretty basic straight up crunch tone all things considered. Let's start by hearing this one just straight into the amp, no pedals. I'm going to kick on the Earthquaker Devices Plumes for this one. This is sort of my go-to when I want to take a low gain tone like this up to a higher gain, crunchy, saturated thing. It's sort of got a fuzzy-ish texture to it. It doesn't stay super bright and articulate like you can get with a lot of amplifiers, but it does have a unique vibe all on its own. The next drive pedal I would like to try out into this tone is going to be the Holy Island Audio Spectral Fire. This is a clanky sort of thing based on the Trainer TS50B and the Blues Breaker. Again, this is a pretty odd sounding tone, but nothing that I'm particularly against. I think once we get into the high gain territories though, that's really where I'm going to be in my element. With that, let's flick on both the saturation and the structure switches for this channel and see where we get to. The saturation switch is engaged, but it's not up to full saturation, and the structure switch is on full. Let's start by hearing how I've got this one dialed in. This is a pretty chunky sounding high gain. Since we're already up into pretty high gain territory, we don't really need the pedal to add much more gain, we just need to boost the front end a little bit and maybe shape the EQ. I'll do this one with the Guptec Mad Hue on the Hue side. Let's boost it now with the Spectral Fire again, and we should get into some big doomy kind of territory. really start running out of headroom quickly on the lower gain channel, so it doesn't take a boost super well, but it does make for some interesting sounds. Let's now hear what we're working with on the HOD channel with both the structure and the saturation switches turned off. This is naturally a fair bit tighter and a lot higher gain than the regular OD channel, so we can start straight out by boosting it with the GupTech Madge Hue like we did with the last tone. Now this is where I'm really starting to enjoy how the amp sounds boosted. On the higher gain channel, it really just sort of brings it to life a bit more. I do also want to try this one out with the plumes, as that's going to be a little bit more aggressive sounding maybe, adding a little bit more gain than the GupTech would. This is definitely working out a lot better, and I'm excited to see what happens when we switch over to the higher gain mode of this higher gain channel. We were able to take this crunchy, high gain-ish kind of thing up to a full-blown classic metal chug, but watch what happens when we engage the switches on the amp. This is the heaviest the amp gets in its own right, and even then we've got the gain turned back a little bit so that we've got some room to boost it. This does get a little bit noisy, but we'll push through it for this video. I'm now going to hit this channel with the other side of the GupTech Madge Hue. This is based on the 1433. It's an extremely aggressive sounding drive pedal that cuts a lot of the low end out and adds some high frequency peaking for some really gnarly sort of tones. I don't know if this is actually making the tone better at all, but I think if you were doing some death metal type speed picking, this may be what you need to cut through the mix. I'll also run the plume through this tone just on the transparent boost setting to see if we can just tighten it up for some bigger chugs. I think I might have too much gain on the amp, so I'm just going to redial this one in for the plumes so that we can get something a little bit tighter. I've turned the saturation down to the midway point instead of all the way saturated, so this is what we're working with. Now again with the plumes over this setting instead. It's not a boost, but I also do need to try this one out with the Swollen Pickle by Way Huge. It's going to be raucous, it's going to be noisy, and I'm almost certainly going to regret not running a noise gate. Let's hear it anyway. not noisy enough, we're going to engage the plumes on top of this. You know what, that actually turned out to be more usable than I thought it was going to be. I thought this would kind of be a mess through this amp, as it's normally best paired with something like a 5150. On to the conclusion now, and it is no secret that I do absolutely love this amp. I think it definitely takes pedals well enough for most people. It doesn't quite have the headroom you might need if you're wanting to take a crunch tone up to a soaring lead sort of thing, but it does take a boost quite well in certain circumstances. If you just want to add a little bit of boost up front just to juice it up a little bit, it works great. Now the noise is certainly an area of concern, though you could gate this out with something like the 14 Zool for instance. Of course, it would be better if the noise just wasn't there to begin with. It's somewhat unavoidable with high gain amps, but I have noticed the Crab to be louder than a lot of the other amps that I've got here. I've spoken to some other owners of Crab amps. They've got different preamps in theirs and they don't have any noise issues whatsoever, so it's not the power amp section they're using, but rather the preamp itself. The noise on mine only really starts to become an issue when you have both the saturation and the structure switches enabled, so at least it's consistent. Now, I've said this before and I will likely say it again, but Crab amps are very, very easy to recommend at this price point. I would love to place another order for one of them in the future. They do a 4-channel pick your own preamp style custom head that starts at around $800. It's definitely something I would be interested in doing a demo for, so let me know in the comment section down below if that's something you would like to see on my channel. Also, for what it's worth, if you were looking to purchase one of these amps for yourself, they don't have a website, they don't have a storefront or anything like that. All orders are taken over DMs on Instagram. I'll leave a link to their Instagram in the description box down below. It's also a great place to just get inspiration for what preamp you could choose for your amp. That's all for this video, so let me know in the comment section down below what you think of it. I've done dedicated videos for each of the different components that I've used in this demo, the guitar, the pedals, the amp, all that sort of stuff, if you'd like to go check those out. Don't forget to use my Thomann affiliate link if you're ever shopping at Thomann, as it gives me a nice little bit of kickback. Until next time though, I've been Kai.